Hello, my stamping friends. This is Renae Novak at BlessedByCards.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, and I'm here today to share with you another Make It Monday tutorial. Today, I'm going to share with you several techniques on how to do spotlighting in your stamping to create a really beautiful card. Now, these techniques are pretty simple, but they really do make your cards pop. So the first technique really is a simple traditional way where you take an image and you stamp it on a white cardstock or any other kind of cardstock that you want. Now I use the Stamparatus because I'm using the Butterfly Brilliance, and that's a pretty big stamp set. And then what you do is you use your circle dies and pop out one of those pieces. And then you're going to color that piece to spotlight that piece. And then you're going to mount that onto another piece of black just to make it pop some more. And so I'm just going to add that right down here. And then what you want to do when you're building your card is you want to make sure that your image lines up. So I'm just putting a little black down here on this gorgeous grape, and then I'm going to add my white panel that has my butterflies, and then I'm going to bring in the one that I colored, and I'm going to try to line it up so that it matches. Now it's a little bit more difficult to line it up since I've already got the circle on there, but you can kind of see where that goes, and you can line that up so that it spotlights that one section. And then you can either use adhesive or you can use a pop dot to pop it up. So again, I'm just going to try to find that line up and then stick that right down. And that is the first spotlighting technique, the traditional way where you stamp it, punch it, and then mount it. So then here's another one that I did very similar. I just punched out a different area of the card to spotlight it and did the white, then the gorgeous grape, then the black. And all of the measurements and all of the supplies that I'm using today will be on my blog at BlessedByCards.com. So that's the first technique. The second technique is very, very similar, and it is where you again take your image and you stamp it and then you punch it out, and then what you're going to do is then just color that image however you want. I'm using colored pencils. You can certainly use blends, but for this one I just thought I like the brilliance of the watercolor pencils, and I can make them darker and lighter. And because this daisy garden has a lot of black lines in it, I find sometimes the lighter color blends tend to bleed. So I'm using the watercolor pencils. And then I'm just going to bring in the center. And then because it's just a tiny area, I can bring in my green blend for the leaves, and just kind of get some greenery on those leaves. And then we're going to put this back in our card. Now what I did was I took a black piece of paper, I took two of our layering circles that layer together, and I ran them through at the same time. And then what you get after you've run them through are these two little circles, and that's what you want. Let me bring in this white paper to see if you can see it better. You want these two little black circles that pop out of here. Okay, and I'm just going to use the one that matches up with the small circle. And so I'm bringing in my card that I've already kind of pre-done for you. And you put that ring right around, just put a little bit of glue on it and put it right around that circle that was punched out. And then you're going to line up your design. And for this one, I think I'm going to use some of our little baby Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm going to pop that up. So I'm going to put several on this so that I can get it a nice even pop. The little baby Stampin' Dimensionals are great for the spotlighting because typically when you are spotlighting something, it's a little bit of a smaller image. So let's see if we can line this back up. And then just stick it right in there. And there you have it, a spotlighted image number 2 with the ring. And the first one was the more traditional one where you just mounted it all on there. They look very similar, so it depends on the way you want to do it. This again, I mounted it and put it on a Stampin' Dimensional to give it that extra height. Now you can use Stampin' Dimensionals on your actual stamped image if you want to make it even further pop. So those are that. That's the third technique, is a negative image. And so for that one, I'm going to bring in a piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to bring in my stamp from Eclectic Garden. And I'm just going to sauce that up with a little bit of black. And then I'm going to stamp that right down on my white cardstock. Okay. And then what you want to do is you want to grab whatever coloring tool you want. In this case, I'm going to use the blends. And I'm just going to color in my little radishes and get those to be all colored in. You can certainly use the combo to do the highlighting, but for this purposes, I thought I would just go ahead and color them in. And so there you have it, the red radishes. And then the next thing you're going to do is grab your green and just add a little bit of color all along the little stems that come down, because those are going to show depending on where you cut the next portion. So this is the negative spotlighting, and so I'm just going to stamp that on my white. Then I'm bringing in a piece of cardstock, and I've cut it with the Happy Hippo and Friends dies. You can use any die you want, or you can just cut it however you want. I'm bringing back in that same stamp, and I'm saucing it up with some black, and I'm going to put that right down in the middle of that punched out shape. And I'm going to now take, this is where the spotlighting comes in, I'm going to take a circle punch. In this case it's a 1 inch because my design is pretty small, and I'm just going to come in and punch out. Now that's what's going to create the negative. You're going to mount it back on here, lining up the best that you can, and I found these little things down here were easier to line up. And then what you want to do is you want to bring back in those baby Stampin' Dimensionals, and you want to put them around the punched image so that you can have it evenly on your card. Okay, so now we're just going to remove the backs of those, and we're going to line that up on our cardstock, and we're going to just stick it straight down. And that creates the negative spotlighting technique. So what you want to do before you finish off your card is you want to come in and remove some of this white, because you don't want it to show. You just kind of want that image behind there to show. So you just kind of snip all those off, and then you'll have that doesn't show, and then you'll put that on your card. So let me bring in the card to show you that what one I did with this one. So I just mounted it on some red cardstock, and again I put a thanks, and this is the one I did here with a different design, but you can certainly play around with it. Use some designer series paper, whatever you want to make your card pop. Again, negative spotlight stamping. Okay, for our last technique, we're just simply going to bring in the flowers of friendship. And for spotlighting, it does work best if you use an outline image so that you can actually color in one area. And so I'm just going to, let me bring in my, I'm going to bring in my white so that I can protect my workspace. And I'm just going to stamp these in layering heights. And there we have that. Now the idea behind this is for you to choose one area to highlight. And so let's choose this one right here. And so we're just going to take our blend, and you're just going to color in that one flower. Now you can also color in some leaves if you want, but you don't have to if you just want to spotlight the floral image. So just color it however you want, and then you'll be able to put your card together. Let me bring in my sample. On this one, I actually colored the leaves on the same flower to make that spotlighted, but you wouldn't have to. You could just do one area. And I stamped the thank you for everything from the flowers of friendship. And that is that card. So that is our Make It Monday. 4 different techniques: the stamping directly, the negative spotlighting, and then the other 2 that are very similar. The card that has the ring, and then it's Stampin' Dimensional popped up, and then the last one, which is just the spotlight stamping, where you mounted it on a circular piece of cardstock. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Be sure to share with your friends. Subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. And join me next week for another Make It Monday tutorial. Until then, be blessed.